I'm back. So why have I been gone so long? Well, for one, I've been really distracted and been playing some games. Been had a kid, so that took a lot of time. Just doing other projects and stuff, building a house, just and I've been lazy. So, but anyway, here I am again, continuing this series of Genesis 1. So as I mentioned, just getting right into it here. The next literary structure that I'd like to look at is the chiasm or the chiasmus. If you're not familiar, basically it is a very common Hebrew literary structure. It's probably common in other ancient Near East cultures as well, but it's definitely in the Bible. Um, and this is not something that I learned growing up. This is like one of those things, again, that's like, why don't I know about this? Well, eventually I did learn about it. And you start seeing these patterns pop up as you read the Bible, that you wouldn't notice looking at it with Western modern eyes. Um, but there are lots of them. So, for example, it's this kind of pattern, like if you imagine the menorah standing in the temple. It's got like a central branch, and then it's seven altogether. So there's six branches coming out on either side. And so if you follow that in a row, you have like A, B, C, D, C, B, A. And then so like there's this pattern where it ends like it begins, and then there's like in the middle, you have the same structure. And usually what it's doing is emphasizing that central point, either to simply emphasize it, like it's important. It's usually a turning point in the story, but that's basically its purpose, is to kind of uh, lead your eye to this central uh, event or idea, and then everything is patterned after that. And it's not difficult. So you might say, well, that doesn't that mean that it's made up, right? Because the stories take on these patterns. But it's not super difficult to find a chiasm within an event. It's just in the way that you compress time. It's in the way that you uh, highlight certain things. You can find these patterns, um, uh, like I showed up to church. We sang some songs. There was a message. We sang some more songs. Then we left. That's a very simple chiasm, with like only 3 points, but that's basically the structure. You can flesh that out and say, well, I showed up, we chatted, fellowshipped with each other, then we sat down, then we sang some songs, then there was a message, then we sang some more songs, then we stood up, then we chatted, and then we left. That's like you can add details into this. So one example, let me get my program out of the way here. So this is uh, a passage right out of Genesis. And so like you don't pay attention to every single detail in the way that this is broken out line by line, but you can see the pattern as we go here. Um, this is Abraham's servant. He's going to get a bride for his master's son. So he says, so I drank, and she gave the camels drink also. He shows up at the well. He's describing these events. Then I asked her and said, whose daughter are you? And she said, the daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Micah bore him. So I put the nose ring on her nose and bracelets on her wrists, and I bowed my head and worshipped Yahweh, and blessed the Lord, God of my master Abraham, who had led me in the way of truth, to take the daughter of my master's brother for his son. Now, if you will deal kindly and truly with my master, tell me, and if not, tell me that I may turn to the right hand or to the left. Then Laban and Bethuel answered and said, the thing comes from Yahweh. So there's your central point. And then now we're seeing the reverse pattern of that. We cannot speak to you either bad or good. You see the pattern there. Here is Rebecca before you. Take her and go. Let her be your master's son's wife. Yahweh has spoken. And it came to pass when Abraham's servant heard their words that he worshipped Yahweh, bowing himself to the earth. Then the servant brought out jewelry of silver, jewelry of gold, and clothing, and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave precious things to her brother and to her mother, and he and the men who were with him ate and drank and stayed all night. So then there's hospitality. So you have this chiastic structure. So Genesis has these chiastic structures on top of the sevens that we discussed, on top of the pattern of ABC, ABC. Now we're going to have patterns of ABCDE, DCBA, and this is going to be overlapping. So again, I'm just highlighting the amazing literary structure of Genesis 1. And these things, again, we don't hear about in Sunday school. But and this doesn't mean that it was inspired by God, but it does mean that there's a lot more going on in Genesis 1 than just simply reading a narrative. Like there's so much uh, creativity in this chapter and in the whole book of Genesis and the whole Bible that I think it's important to highlight. It means something. Okay. So here's another one. This is the whole book of Genesis. I'm not going to go through all this, but you can pause the video and take a look for yourself. Um, so some of these you may agree with, you may not. This is people's interpretation and their subjective ability to extract these patterns from the text. So, maybe you feel like some of these are a little bit of a stretch or whatnot. Regardless, like the patterns are there. This was a literary device that they used. Go to any critical Bible um, class, and they will talk about this structure. So in Genesis, the entire chapter follows a structure something like this. Genesis 1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void. Okay, then God creates the light and the firmament. Then God causes the dry land to appear, and God saw that it was good. So yeah, he says that throughout, but here's the central thesis basically of Genesis 1 is that God took this unordered, chaotic mess in which nothing could live, and he formed it into something which was habitable, peaceful, good. Okay. And then we're reversing this pattern. He fills the dry land with grass and herbs. He fills the heavens and the heavens with the lights to divide the day from the night, to rule them. He fills the waters and earth with living creatures. And then finally, God rests from his creation that he began in Genesis 1. Um, so you can not only is there an overarching chiastic structure, but even within the sections of Genesis 1, there are other chiasms, again, on top of each other, layering over with different literary structures, such as the sevens, such as the pattern of um, creating the domains and then filling the domains in that same order. So, like I said, ABC, ABC, but also a reversing chiastic structure on top of that. This is a passage within that, Genesis 1:14 through 1:18 and 19. Uh, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons, for days and years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide light on Oh, excuse me. In the firmaments of the heaven to give light on the earth. And it was so. And God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light on the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good, and there was evening, and there was morning the fourth day. So this is just chiasm within a section, and we have these repeating throughout. So this is the final um, poetic literary structure that I'm going to examine in Genesis here. And I'd like to maybe have a final video just kind of showing how these all overlap and just the amazing nature of Genesis 1, and that it's not a complete story to just take, well, it's just a creation myth. Like it's just the narrative of how God made everything. It's not just giving you a physical description of what God did to make the earth. It is actually somewhat of a symbolic foundation almost for the entirety of the Bible and the entirety of reality. This is how we bring anything to light and bring anything into order. We form it out of potential, out of this mess that it starts out in. We shape it into a cohesive structure, and then we add details, we flesh it out, we make it alive, and then hopefully at the end, it is a good thing that is a blessing that is harmonious and life-giving. Like that's just kind of an overarching concept of what Genesis 1 is communicating, um, that you might apply on a personal level on a day-to-day basis. You can take these ideas because they are so profound and they are so um, cleverly described, and really much like practically all of the Bible is this way, is that they are narratives, but they are also lessons. They're also practical things that you can meditate on, that you can study and actually apply to your life to be better, to be a better person, to understand the world around you. This is how the ancients communicate with narrative, at least in the Bible. Um, but that doesn't mean that the narratives are made up either. So, anyway, that's the end of that. Anyway, I hope you learned something. I hope that this has been enjoyable. And again, we'll look at kind of a recap of all of these things together soon, hopefully. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Appreciate it. Comment below. Love to hear your thoughts.